58, 59. Lost count. Eight, 59. Lost count. Eight, 59. Lost count. Eight, 59. Lost count.
Battle Axe Theater contains vaping, which is not as cool as... Battle Axe Theater contains vaping, which is not as cool as smoking, vulgar language, which is not as cool as nudity, and drinking, which is sorta cool. In other words, viewer discretion is advised.
Battle Axe Theater, that's a good name.
Battle Axe, man, he brought the preach video.
Battle Axe Theater.
Death from Battle Axe. I don't know if you guys have seen, he just rants, and it's awesome. And he just starts screaming and yelling. I need to have a beer with that guy. Yeah.
All right, there we go. Okay, yeah, there's audio. Say something, Def.
Yo, what's up? We got audio.
Jesus Christ. Oh, now it's all like dark in here. What the fuck is going on?
I don't know, man. Let's
Look, y'all, every time I try to do something new, there's some sort of there's some sort of technical thing.
Repercussions.
Yeah, I forgot to turn my fan down low, so you guys can probably hear that background noise. There we go. All right. What is up, everyone? I'm Punkshoe, and I'm here with my boy Def.
Hey, thanks for coming, everybody. Hoye, I just want to give you a quick shout out. I see you're in chat. I did your rant, was it 3 episodes ago? It was a juicy one, so I don't know if you caught it, man. Yes, I do have the 16 ounce, bro. Going hard tonight. We're going to get into some juicy topics. But, yeah.
I'm excited. But yeah, we're Battle Axe Theater, and this is another fun episode of Battle Axe Live. I'm really bothered by the lighting, but you know what? You're not here for our faces. Or maybe you are. I don't know. But we'll have this fixed next week. Don't know where the lighting issues... We've obviously introduced a few new things to our scenes, and anything you do to your scene fucks with it. So
Yeah.
So
But,
we're gonna have to figure that out.
I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I think it looked pretty sexy. It looked pretty hot. You know, you got the tent lighting going on, so it's good. It's good. So, I think we can continue now.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. We should probably get started, huh? Well, we hope everyone is doing fantastic on this fine Monday. We're going to have a little discussion about the audio-visual experience versus, in combat specifically, versus immersion. And that, when we talk about audio-visual combat experience, we're talking specifically about animations and sounds. And we'll talk about that here a little bit in a few minutes. But I think we'll go ahead and get started with this week's Weekend Rear View. It's the Weekend Rear View. Woo, doggy! Weekend Rear View.
Woo, doggy.
Woo, doggy. Oh, man. Well, in true rear view fashion, Def, what'd you do this past week?
Well, I got a little bit of a little nugget coming out on the back channel. I don't want to say too much about it, but I should have it done this week, and it may go up on the channel Friday, and you'll probably see it in various places. So, but don't want to say anything because I don't want to spoil it. Other than
I'm excited
that,
for it.
Other than that, man, I really, you know me, man, I can't remember yesterday. I can't think of anything I did. I watched a movie, and you know how rare that is.
Yeah.
I watched The Irishman. bro, good stuff. It's a time investment. I watched it over the course of two nights. But I can't think of anything else other than the little nugget that's going to be dropping on the channel this week.
Well, tell me about The Irishman without telling me too much about it. Like, was it good?
It's good. I didn't know it was based on a true story. It's kind of like it's by that Martin Scorsese guy, however you say his last name.
Scorsese?
Yeah, there you go. Which is sad. I don't remember how to pronounce his name because he's done a lot of my favorite movies, like Gangs of New York. I think he did Catch Me If You Can.
That movie was so good. I really enjoyed Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah, and of course all the other titles like Casino and Goodfellas, But what was really cool to me is after you watch the movie, Netflix has a conversation with Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro, and Martin. And it's just kind of cool how they have had this movie in the making for years and years. And they're all old as shit now. And it worked out for the movie. With this new technology, they go into how they had triple lens cameras to make them look younger in the film. So it's really neat it's really neat how they bounce from when they're telling the story of the movie and they bounce from timepieces. So you know me, I don't like to spoil anything, but it's good, man. It's really good.
Well, I'm gonna have to check it out. I've just been reluctant to do it because it's 3.5 hours, something like that.
I think it's 3.5. Yeah, it's a time investment.
Yeah, it's really long.
But dude, anything Joe Pesci's in, man, I gotta watch it. I'm just a big fan.
Okay.
So.
And that was all you did this week, huh?
That's what I can think of at this moment. Like I said, I've been working on that little surprise we got coming out, hopefully Friday, and playing some Guild Wars, playing some Call of Duty every now and then. Squeezing in a couple of matches. I don't want to. I like to shoot people in the face. Okay, I like to do it, and it's just a good stress reliever for me.
Hey man, if we had more time, we could get down on some of that Destiny action.
Yeah.
Just not enough goddamn time in the day.
I'm actually pretty decent at Destiny, but I guess the OG FPSs I just suck at.
That's because everybody there's better than you, bro.
Yeah.
And that's not like an offensive thing. That's just the fucking bitter truth.
No, dude, it is the truth. And when you die by a 9-year-old and they're like, "Hey, Mom, I don't want pizza rolls. I'm good," and they headshot you the whole time, it's like, dude,
what are you aimbotting?
Oh man, that pisses me off. And then they have to talk shit, Oh, Def, you're trash.
Oh man.
I could murder. I'm old enough to be your dad, even though I look like I'm 12. I could still be your dad, and I will.
Maybe that could be your comeback. You could just be like, "Well, you know what, kid? Your dad's not your real dad. I fucked your mom."
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, anything else this week, man? Surely you did something else.
I just can't.
You can't remember. That's fine.
I can't remember, man. I can't remember yesterday. That's the thing about me, man. Nothing too. I'm working on crafting in Guild Wars 2.
Mm-hmm.
I got some new mounts unlocked on Guild Wars 2. We had a pretty productive weekend this weekend.
We did.
Yeah. We got our mounts did. We did something else, I think, that was pretty productive.
We went and we spent an evening with Reeves and we cleared a full zone and helped him get a couple, like 5 or 6 levels, something like that.
Yeah. Now he's 80 now.
He's 80, so we got stuff that we can do this weekend or later this week, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. What'd you do, brother?
Well, I did some more office work, and as you can see, we got these I'd figure out that thing right there. we got these cool little banners, and I unveiled that to you earlier last week.
This
I'm
was
like,
the surprise you spoke of.
yes. And I wasn't sure how good of quality they were going to be, and they turned out to be really good. I'm really impressed.
I know we want to keep the show moving along, but I gotta say, so you said you had a surprise for Bat,
Right.
and you show me your flag, and then I'm like, where the fuck's mine, bro? And you're like, well, it's funny you say that, it's right here. and then you go on to say, I know you love flags and banners, and then I'm thinking, I do. And then I look around my office, and I have I have 2 flags and a banner already, and then so this will be the 4th. So I guess I do love flags and banners.
And then we had been talking like last month about how we'd like to get something to go on the green screen wall.
Yeah.
For when you're not utilizing the green screen. So hopefully that works out for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I got
man.
it steamed out and stuff, but I just got it in right before the show, so.
Yeah. And I'm still trying to figure out what to do with mine. I feel like I'm going to put some chains on it or something so it hangs a little bit lower. But they came out really good, man. And thanks, Sarah Lynn. If you guys are interested, we got these online from a place called Build-A-Sign. Like, they didn't pay us for this or anything, but I just got to give them a shout out because, like, that's pretty good quality, man.
Like, the texture of the cloth is, I mean, it's legit, dude. It's really nice. It feels nice. It looks better in person.
Yes.
But, man, I was really impressed because when you show me yours, I'm like, that's freaking cool. But when I got it in the mail, I'm like, holy shit, this is huge. It's got that feel, it's got that thickness.
It's got that feel.
Yeah, it's got the feel.
Bro, we can take them off and use them as capes when we go to PAX.
Oh, yeah. Get laughed at.
That's okay. There's plenty of people getting laughed at, man. So what did I do this week? I got that put up. I did some other things. Mainly just trying to get this place organized because I'm trying to balance the Battle Axe thing. I got the new camera set up. I got some new hardware for the camera to keep it in place. Still getting used to this lens. I can't really find a lens that has a good f-stop, but also at the same time, like, gives a good like zoom, like focal length. So I don't know. It seems to be doing okay. I'm happy with it. And the nice thing is, though, what I did is I got a quick release that works with my inexpensive Amazon tripod. So if I want to shoot something on the tripod, all I got to do is just unlatch it and take the camera off and move it. So I don't have to untwist it, fight my monitor, fuck up my monitor situation. I can just move it. Good to go. Elgato is all set up. Been working on... because I'm using this camera now, I've switched my webcam to do a close-up scene on the table. You saw that on my CSC Customs, CSC Systems rather, Facebook page, where I put a video and I had like a close-up where I switched scenes in OBS and I had a close-up of whatever I'm working on.
Yeah.
I'm working on getting it set up so I can capture the computer and stuff as I get it on the test bench over here. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. I did some more Guild Wars stuff, helped you guys, you and the wife, get your a couple different mounts.
Yep.
Hung out with Reeves a little bit. Failed miserably in World v World this morning because I was just kind of out of it. But whatever, I was there and I did things. And I'm getting almost to the point where I can get my Ascended set going. So I'm excited for that. So, but outside of that, it's been... Oh, I trimmed my hedges today. I got a new electric hedge trimmer and never had one of those. I'm used to gasoline, so...
Oh, wow, okay.
I don't use it enough to invest $200 into a gasoline hedge trimmer, and I've got 2 hedges outside my front door. And they actually got the job done pretty good.
Nice. Nice.
What? Sorry for cramming it into a small box. Oh. Yeah, dude. She comes to me. I'm like, what did I see the receipt for the shipping. And I was like, what kind of box did you put it into? She's like, one of those small ones like I ship graphics cards in. I was like, what? I was like, you were supposed to just take the whole bag and put it in like an envelope. So it came in a box that was like this big.
Yeah, it was compacted in. I thought it came from like the manufacturer who made the flag for a minute. I mean, it was like in there, bro.
Okay, well,
So
did a good job, babe. Thanks for that. I appreciate you running down there and taking care of that, so that way I can continue to be a troll here and live in my cave. But that's pretty much it. Are we ready to move on to some news, bro?
let's get into the news.
Let's do it.
And now it's time for the Nerd News! Good evening, and thanks for tuning in to this part of the program where we discuss all things technology, comic books, film, art, and more.
Woo! The news section. Love the news. Love news, bro. Like I said, and I'll say it every time. This is my favorite section segment. Not just because your goofy transition there, but we got to talk about some fun shit.
Yeah.
And you've got some fun shit to talk about.
Well, I've been wanting to look into, DC has their own streaming service, the DC universe. So I'm like, what is this HBO Max stuff? Because they have all these cool titles. Well, in the description down below, and I'm gonna try to just briefly run through these. I don't want to go into too many details, but on this one, there's a link in the description. It's all the DC comic projects in development currently for HBO Max, and there's a lot of buzz going on online on they don't know the future of DC Universe because HBO Max has apparently struck a deal with Warner Brothers to do all these cool titles. So in this article, it's basically a list of all the things that are in development, and you got titles like Aquaman, King of Atlantis, a Green Lantern series, which I have in the notes here, rumored, but later on we'll talk about how that is already been confirmed, which is awesome. And there's another series called Superhero High. Don't know what that's about. Strange Adventures and DMZ. And I want to talk about DMZ briefly because it has, and I hope I say her name right, Rosario Dawson. And she's the main lead as a doctor. Now, she also was in Daredevil as a doctor. And I remember us having a conversation in Discord one late 3 a.m. night about how she always plays a doctor. But she's the lead role. And I think it's really cool because I watch a lot of the DC cartoons. And she plays Wonder Woman. She does a lot of video game voice work. She's like a straight up nerd, so it's kind of cool how she gets cast in these comic book films and shows because she's actually like into it. She knows the story, she knows the she knows the characters. But she'll be playing. DMZ is apparently set in a futuristic timeline. During another civil war, looking for her missing son. So that's kind of my favorite one. It's going to be like a drama series. So, but if you guys want to read more about that, it'll be in the description down below.
I gotta say, bro, I love internet and how it's undependable and it works sometimes and it feels like it, and other times it doesn't.
But before we switch on to you, I gotta say, I'm pumped because the DC movies always suck. They always rush stuff, but if HBO is picking up DC titles, I think there's a good chance for some really good writing. They can take their time, make character development, really take their time and make a good show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think having these things in shows works better than having them in movies. Excuse me. I think these comic books things should really have been like shows or miniseries, but when we tried to cram them into movies, and then we got to wait a year in between each one, and it's like overproduced, I don't know. I mean, they do a good job, obviously. I mean, there's a reason why the comic universes are doing so well, particularly Marvel. But I don't know. Like, I just feel like you're not getting as much meat and potatoes as you could if there was a show.
Right. I'm just excited because HBO, they don't put out a bad show. If you don't like it, it's just not your thing. The writing is, you know what I mean? Like, the writing is always pretty good. The quality is always good. So I'm just excited.
Well, that's good, man. I'm excited too. We'll see what happens. And the thing is I'm hoping that HBO Max will be included with, the HBO that you get, like HBO Go. Do you know about that? Do you know if it's going to work together, or do you have to pay extra for HBO Max?
I don't know. I think it's going to be a separate service. I'm not sure.
Because, well, if it was HBO Go inclusive, then I'd be able to watch that shit because we have HBO Go. But I don't know about having to pay for another service, or if it's just like an upgrade for an extra couple dollars a month.
We'll see. It's set to launch May 20th. Maybe that's the revamp of HBO Go. I don't know.
That would be cool. We shall see.
Yeah.
So you had a topic that was kind of related to this. Do you want to go ahead and talk about that?
I can. It's now I feel hypocritical for choosing this article, but I think it's just neat. So Keanu Reeves will reportedly lead in a Justice League Dark movie as Constantine. Now, we kind of briefly touched on this subject. I haven't seen Constantine. I think I have, but I just don't remember it. But it's kind of cool. And apparently, Marvel and DC are trying to get Keanu Reeves in one of their movies or shows because, I mean, it's Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, the Undying Vampire Man.
Yeah, but it's been rumored that he'll return in a Constantine movie, a Justice League Dark series, and I'm assuming he'll be leading that movie as Constantine. But it also, the article goes on to talk about how it would be really cool because not only if a Justice League Dark movie gets put out with Keanu Reeves as Constantine, then that's potential for a new Constantine movie with Keanu Reeves. And so that's really cool.
I fucking loved Constantine. I'm not going to lie. That movie was awesome, dude. Now
this is rumored, but I believe TMZ or one of those, paparazzi type companies has caught up with Keanu, and he did say he would love to return to the characters. So I just think it's kind of cool, like I would love for Michael Keaton to still be Batman, even if he's an old Batman and there's a Batman Beyond, and then you got Dick, and if you got Dick Grayson,
who would play Dick?
I never thought of that, man.
I was thinking maybe the dude from the Kingsmen.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, okay. I can't remember his name. Who do you guys think would play Dick Grayson? I'm trying to think. Like, I don't know very many young actors, man. Like, I'm like you. I don't watch movies very often anymore.
I'm thinking maybe the guy from that played in that. Wow, what was it? He played in the Queen movie.
Oh yeah. I can't remember his name, but yeah.
And he also played in that series that was a computer hacker. I can't think of it, but he has that slick black hair, and he's kind of dark complected, and he has the chin for it. But that's just. Right
and he would play. He would be Nightwing.
Yeah. I'm thinking he'd be good,
dude. I watched the shit out of that. I would love to see that, dude. How awesome would that be?
the guy that plays Nightwing in the Titans series, which everybody tells me I should watch, but I just can't get into it, man. I got to episode 2, and the blood looked like After Effects blood. I mean, it just looked so bad, and I just like, but everybody's telling me power through season 1, and you'll love it. So
you should never have to power through an entire season. Maybe an episode or 2, but
well,
not an entire season.
Expanse. I'm not gonna lie, the production in Expanse wasn't that great. But that turned out to be one of the best shows ever. I mean, dude.
Okay, that's fair. Because when I told you, I was like, just finish season 1, season 2 gets good, and like you got really into it, like the last couple episodes of season 1.
Yeah, I was into it mid-season 1 for sure. But yeah.
Well, that's exciting, man.
That's about all I got, man. I think
we didn't really have any like spacey news this week, so we kind of gave you guys a little extra, nerdy comic-y news. So hopefully that gets your I can't think of a metaphor here, but yeah, hopefully that gets you going.
Your nerd are going. I don't know.
But I do have a little bit of tech news for you guys today, which is I'm really excited about, because in a way, like I try to be like middle ground with Intel and AMD, but I'm not exactly on board with some of Intel's business practices, because they've been doing so well over the last few years, like the last 10 years, and just completely walking all over anything AMD has had to offer. And I've always been about building a budget system and getting into gaming and playing at high frames on a budget. And Intel just didn't offer that for a very long time. And AMD tried to, and they put out the FX processors and actually ended up seeing a lawsuit out of that, because they were trying to be competitive and they used poor verbiage on their website, which ended up getting them sued. So yeah, like AMD, since Ryzen came out, has been doing really well, and with the new release of the Ryzen 2nd gen, so not the Zen Plus, but the Ryzen 2nd gen, well, I guess technically it's 3rd gen on 2nd gen. I don't know how to describe. Anyway, they came out with budget offerings, and get this, dude, this is crazy. AMD now offers a bottom tier offering for $100 that is a 4-core, 8-thread processor that you can game on. $100 processor that you can game on. So you remember our old FX processors? You had a 6-core and I had an 8-core.
Yeah.
When we first started streaming and we first started hanging out, when we first started Battle Axe.
Yeah.
Well, so Ryzen kind of pushed things, and then they pushed it even further by making smaller architecture. And now for $100, you can pick up a processor that you can slap a fucking 2060 or 2070 graphics card into, and it won't bottleneck it.
Wow, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So here's one of the things that, so they got there's a 3100, which is the base bottom line tier, and that would allow you to essentially build, get your base platform going for like $300 without the graphics card. Your RAM, your motherboard, for your processor, maybe even an aftermarket cooler, but they come with coolers in the box. The 3300X is where it's at. That's a $120 processor, which is still a great bargain. And the core clocks of these things, so this is to my nerd folks out there, for you computer hardware nerds that want to hang out with my nerdgasm here. It's 3.8 gigahertz up to 4.3 gigahertz turbo max boost. It's 4-core, 8-thread. So this is like not only something that you could game on, but you could potentially do like a two-thread stream, 720p while gaming, and still be all right. And then the kicker here, for me anyway, is that it only uses 65 watts, which is like nothing. Like that's like a power sipping processor. So you're getting a gaming processor that runs super cool, comes with a cooler, and can be overclocked out of the box, because everything you buy from AMD is overclockable, and it only costs you $120. If you slap that into a board that maybe don't want to overclock and you just kind of want to run it, because it's only 65 watts, you can buy like a $60 motherboard, dude. You don't have to spend 100, 120, 150 bucks on like a B450 or B550 motherboard. You can just go out and buy like an A320M, which is like super budget, and then slap in, you know, a mid-tier graphics card. You can build yourself a gaming computer out of all brand new parts for less than 800 bucks that would run your games without ray tracing on like Ultra.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I was raised on AMD. I'm not a hardware guru like you. I don't know all my parts and all that, but I just remember, you know, my dad, he used to build computers, and it's like I guess we were an AMD family, if you will. You know.
Well, they were just affordable, and the cost was they ran hot, and they used a little bit more power at the wall, so you had extra cost that was broken up month to month in electricity. And back in the day, AMD and Intel were like, you know, they would bang heads. But then in the like the mid 2000s, around like 2010, when Intel came out with like their higher instruction per clock i5s and i7s, AMD just couldn't keep up, and they thought, well, let's put more cores out there and not do hyper threading. So instead of Intel had 4 cores, whereas AMD had 8 cores. But Intel had 8 threads, essentially. So it was basically kind of like an 8-core versus 8-core because there were no extra threads. There was no hyper-threading or SMT on AMD. But the thing is AMD, it still ran hotter. It used more power and didn't even come remotely close. Dude, my staple that I sell are refurbished Dell systems running an i5 4 series, so 4th gen. So a 4570 or 4590, which are processors that came out in like 2012 and 2014, and those processors were as good in terms of gaming performance as first generation Ryzen. That's how good Intel processors were for a long time. And so just to have this particular offering is pretty nice. And Dark Arrow says that it overclocks to 4.6. I haven't seen that yet. But I also haven't looked into like anybody really pushing the overclocks on it. My experience with Ryzen is typically when you get like 4.2, 4.3, there's a lot of like finessing you have to do with it and getting it to actually work and be functional 24/7 with the memory overclocks that are appropriate for Ryzen is very difficult. And with the 3rd gen Ryzen, I've seen better results just letting it run. And my Cinebench scores are a little bit lower and things like that. But I've had better experience overall with it, just letting it run in Performance Boost Overdrive. So, I mean, I don't know. It's been good. We've got in the bat rig that's sending you guys a signal right now. We've got a 3600X. So, like I said, it gets the job done. And, you know, when people come over to visit, we can use it as a secondary gaming machine. So that's awesome. Okay, yeah, I'll look into that some more. I know that Jay's 2 cents is the video linked in the description is for Jay's 2 cents. He's a quirky YouTuber that I enjoy, so definitely check that video out. He kind of breaks it down and compares it to the. This is the other thing, Def. So you've probably heard that i7s were like the gaming processor, right?
Yeah, I think they're the big deeps of the PC world. Yeah.
Well, this entry-level processor, the 3300X, performs at level or above what the i7 7700K will do.
The $100 version?
The $120 version. And
okay.
It costs more to get the 7700K new right now, if you can even find it. And back when that first came out, it was a $450 processor. So I think that's pretty awesome, but pretty good. And yeah, Hoye, I'm a fan of all of them. I like to watch Linus. I like to watch Jay. I go to Gamers Nexus for my big number breakdown, real hardcore overclocking. I don't remember what it's called, but I watch him for like where he breaks down getting into the BIOS and things like that. I don't want to bore you guys too much. I want to bore Def too much. I want to move on to our gaming topic.
I'm finding out some good deals now, man.
I'm just really excited because once hopefully once we either adapt to this bullshit that's going on in the world with the human malware, or the shit fixes itself, I'll be able to get these and actually start producing custom built machines more frequently that I can pre-configure and I can sell. And I don't have to rely on people to come to me and say, hey, I want a commission build, and then just stock up on, refurbished units. I'd like to have some actual nice gaming systems that are brand new built available for my customers, so they don't have to wait for the 2-3 week turnaround.
Gotcha.
But
That's pretty cool.
So I did have, we did find some gaming news last night when we were hanging out. But before we get to that, I know there was an article that you were kind of excited about that you just want to touch on real quick before I did mine.
Yeah, I just want to mention it real quick. It's because I honestly didn't get to read it. I was going to read it last night. I was really pumped about it when I told you about it. But it's about the rise and fall of EverQuest Landmark and EverQuest Next. And it's kind of from what I can see it's basically a breakdown of what all went on, what happened, Weinstein vaporware and all this stuff. Because we were promised EverQuest Next, and then we got EverQuest Next Landmark, where you could contribute to the world you're gonna play in. And dude, I never played EverQuest Landmark. I wanted to when I started seeing videos on YouTube of people rebuilding Kern's Tower and the Wood
What
Elves
was
too.
Landmark? Was it an actual game or was it like a demo?
It was basically like Minecraft, where they gave you tools. The tools were were a lot better than something you'd be working with in Minecraft.
Okay.
You had a lot of customization. You had a really cool toolkit, basically. And the community, EverQuest fanboys, such as myself, people were grouping up and they were building some of their favorite zones and landmarks, stuff like that, and coming up with really cool ideas for when EverQuest Next comes out. And I believe that was kind of like the whole deal, like I guess Daybreak would look at character creations and and say, hey, we're going to put this in EverQuest Next.
Okay.
So it was really cool, but it's just it's been a while. I think it was 2013 when they announced EverQuest Next, and then we got Landmark, which I didn't like. When they announced EverQuest Next, Landmark to me was just kind of like a side note. But it ended up being the closest thing anyone's ever going to get to EverQuest Next. So it's just a really neat read. I think, like I said, I didn't get to read it, but it's basically the breakdown of how that all went down, and it's in the description down below, and it's over on massivelyop.com.
Which is a great source. Again, they're not sponsoring for this, but they pump out articles pretty regularly. I don't necessarily agree with everything that they do, but I can say that they put out some stuff that allows you, like, sparks your interest and makes you go do your own research, and they kind of do give you some resources. So pretty excited about that. I'll check that out here after the stream, and it's a good place to get some like tidbits here and there on like Saga of Leucemia and other games, Ashes of Creation. They kind of just give us little updates here and there, so it's nice.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting. Hoye says, I'm honestly glad EverQuest Next died. I'm kind of curious why that is.
Well, I just said same in chat because I kind of am too, man. I think they were going to try to do like another WoW, but with more I don't know how to say it, more action packed, more key smashing,
Gotcha.
like more just I don't know.
So it was going to be less of what people expected from EverQuest, less of a Vanguard, less of a Pantheon, and whatnot. But I don't know. I still think EverQuest with destructible environment would have been kind of neat.
Yeah.
I guess that's the only thing that came out of it. Well, before we keep going too long on this, let's just move on to the other topic. Sorry, guys. We started a little bit late here, so I apologize if we're rushing a little bit through this. But I think we can both agree what we found last night was pretty cool, right?
Yep.
So this is game coming out It was announced at Inside Xbox. I don't know what that is, but it's a game called The Ascent, and I don't know if it's already out on console, but it's a cyberpunk RPG, and I think we're all waiting for Cyberpunk 2077, which is going to be a PC release, and it's going to be. I think most people assume it's going to be pretty badass, but The Ascent is a single player or 4-player co-op, like an isometric top-down, story-driven, free roam play style of a game that's going to have like loot. It's going to have augmentations to the loot, and cyberware. They haven't really explained what that is, but I'm assuming that's some sort of like cybernetic modifications, like Shadow, come on, you're there, brain. You did this a few weeks ago when you tried to say the same fucking name. I don't know. Shadowrun. There we go.
Yep.
But like Shadowrun, where you've got like cybernetic modification. So that seems really cool. And the whole story, like this is what kind of brings it together, is it's basically like you're a corporate slave, and like these people are owned by these corporations, and you're owned by one of the largest corporations in the world. And the corporation suddenly falls apart overnight, and there's no explanation. It just crumbles, and you work for, like, you live in a district of other workers, and now these other corporations are trying to come in and fill that hole, and you've got to like defend against the bullshit. So I think that's kind of a super cool concept, and I'm especially looking forward to like the co-op mode. And I'm wondering if they're going to have like an online system like Warframe, where you have like a lobby system and you can queue up with random people and go into those zones, and like, you know what I'm saying, like a looking for group kind of co-op,
like a hub.
Yeah, kind of like what we do with. Well, there's another game that we played that was like that. Oh, so there's Deep Rock Galactic.
Yep.
There was Warframe. There's another Vermintide, and then there was another game that we played. The Space Hulk game that we played, that we got to play with Onyx. I don't know if you played that or not. It ended up being pretty bad.
yeah, that's why I didn't get it.
But I played just a little bit, and it was just very difficult.
But it still has a social aspect to it, so...
Well, I'm very much looking forward to it. You guys should check that out. On that PCGamer.com article I linked, there is a video and kind of a general synopsis. Check out their Steam page, because it's got a lot more going to it. It's called The Ascent. It's pretty good. And
the trailer looks sick. I mean, if you watch the trailer alone, you'll see what we're talking about. It's pretty...
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I'm going to play it for sure.
Hey! Sorry to interrupt, boys, but can we move on to something a little bit more substantial?
Huh?
Well, that's wonderful.
I thought I lost you.
Are you guys ready to get down with a couple bearded idiots who ramble on about random gaming topics? Well, you're in the right place.
I do want to say
it's time for the meat and
one
taters.
last thing before we move on.
Okay. I thought it was time for the meat and taters.
Oh, sorry. I just thought of this. There were some, and I haven't watched it, but I saw it was put out. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. There's gameplay out now.
Valhalla?
God damn it. Why do I always say that? Valhalla.
I gotta ask though, did they actually put out some gameplay? Because the trailer that they put out had literally, I think it was 6 seconds of gameplay in it.
Yeah. Well, now they put out a gameplay trailer. I haven't checked it out, but sorry. I know we've done moved on, so I just thought of it. I got excited because it's Assassin's Creed meets Vikings, and I don't know. I'm pumped.
It's interesting. But let's talk a little bit, or a lot of bit, about some of the things like in Assassin's Creed that get us excited, which is the audio-visual combat experience.
Yes.
So, let's get into it. So what is the audio-visual combat experience? So some of the things we're going to talk about the audio, the sounds, the effects when you're in combat, maybe even ambiance a little bit, what takes place, how many enemies die. We're going to talk a little bit about We're going to talk about the animations themselves, and again, the animations when your enemies die, things like that when you're in combat. We're going to talk a little bit about active versus tab target combat, and I think that's going to be something that kind of sparks a little bit of a debate. So, buckle in. We're going to talk about that at the end, so we can kind of have some conversation back and forth to get a little bit of context, and we'll talk a little bit about the targeting systems and how they fit into that mold, of what makes that whole combat system what it is. So I want to start by talking about where this stems from. And Dev, I think you're best to kind of explain it. Like, tell us a little bit about the PG experience that kind of brought this topic up.
Well, I will, but I want to say from our experiences of coming from old school MMOs and venturing off and doing testing for Saga, from playing Project Gorgon, from playing P99, from all these things, I don't know where to begin. You know what I mean? But I do say when I think the experience matters, and where I come from on this point is, if I'm going to be grinding in a game, if I'm going to be, I've said this a million times, I'm sure, but if I'm going to be killing boars and bats and rats and things like that, that experience it's gotta feel cool. Like when I shoot a fireball, I want that fireball to go off and be like, yeah, I casted that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which was kind of what Defend the Night was when we covered last week, and they were talking about that. Like when you see a wizard spell go off, you're gonna know that's a wizard. So things like that, things that kind of, you want to let everybody know you're there. Like I'm a warrior. This is my abilities, and then on the back end of that, as sitting in this chair playing the game and trying to be immersed, I want to feel my axe, hitting some skulls and and things like that. So from Project Gorgon, I didn't feel that, but at the same time, I could push past that. I couldn't at first. I hated it. But as we continue to play, I'm like, okay, well, I know these abilities do that. So I'm basically looking at numbers on my screen, kind of like a
Right.
MUD or something like that. It's just like more of like a text-based game, because I do like slashing dice and whatever, and then my character does this, slice, 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 and it's like, and I'm like, man, that doesn't feel good.
And it's like every attack was pretty much the same. There's no distinction between the different abilities. So if you were doing 3 different sword abilities, they all made the same noise. You didn't have anything different. It was all kind of consistently the same. And like, I don't know about you, but like in terms of like audio and visual cues, like, yeah, you mash a button, you should know you mashed a button, but like there's like it's like when you're playing football, like, you throw the ball, but there's the whole muscle memory, there's that sensation. And it's the same for me in gaming. When I hit the button, I hear the sound effect go off. I hear the end of the sound. I see the end of the animation. I know it's time to activate my next ability.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I just think, it's kind of how it all synergizes. I mean, I want to, it's like I always say, the feel, I got to feel it. If I got a 2-headed battle axe and I'm chomping away, I want the sound effects in my ears. To me, and this is my personal opinion, to me, sound makes everything. You could have a great edited video or, great animations, and if you don't have the sound to correlate with that, it doesn't finish it off.
It'd be like watching Braveheart in a battle scene, and like every time swords clashed, it was the exact same noise for every person on the battlefield.
Right.
And it's like, there's got to be some distinction. There's got to be some depth to it. You know, there's got to be different ways that they use their swords. There's got to be different battle cries when an ability is used. There's got to be a different animation. And then, you know, we'll talk about this a little bit more, but like racial animations and stuff like that, or classes, you know, using same weapons. So let's talk a little bit more about the sounds then. So sounds to you are a big deal. And I think, again, audio cues for me are a big one too. Yeah. And I'm curious. So can you maybe go into more detail about that? Like some like examples or anything like that?
Well, you know, I'll give you an example. So in EverQuest, you know, you could hear the sound of a heal going off. So you would know that your cleric beside you is casting complete heal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you know, and it's kind of a thing you had to get adjusted to, because back then it was kind of new. Well, it was new. But you know, when you got accustomed to you know, your group composition and all that, you would know, oh, he's casting complete heal. I'm going to go ahead and start pulling some stuff. So audio cues are a thing. They're very important. And in fact, I think EverQuest went on and most recent expansions, because they don't have the game engine to support all this awesome, you know, combat experience that, you know, WoW and modern MMOs can produce now.
Right.
But I mean, that's what back then, that's what you had to listen for. You know, you had to turn your sound up. And this goes with non MMOs, you know, like you can't play an FPS and get good without sound. You got to hear the footsteps. You got to hear bombs going off in the distance, and you got to turn that direction. You got to face that direction. But to me, sound is everything. That goes with videos. That goes with movies. It goes with everything. I think sound and music. I mean, I know we're not touching on that, the atmospheric side of things, but
well, I mean, we could. What about battle music? Like
well, I'm not a fan of every time you hit auto attack or you get into combat, the music changes. I'm not a fan of that. But now Guild Wars 2, during the stories, when they would cue stories, when they would cue music during the story, during different phases of the fight, that shit's epic. I mean,
yeah, I can agree with that.
That is like playing a AAA single player full on game, which nowadays, in my experience, when I play these games, like the latest BioShock or Hellblade or whatever it may be, you're a walking cinematic, you know. The latest Arkham games, you know, you play a little bit, you get to the end, then you got a short movie to watch.
Right.
But yeah, music matters, sound effects matters, the sounds of your weapons, drawing your weapons, all that kind of stuff matters to me. But like I said, I can get past it from just a mechanic standpoint.
Right.
But it's kind of like, you know, if I'm going to invest my time into an MMO, which I'm, you know, I want to find an MMO to call home, the sounds and stuff would be a huge plus for me. And that's what would most likely keep me there.
Well, let's talk about the immersion standpoint. So you just brought something up that kind of, like, I can really appreciate, is like the sound of unsheathing your weapon.
Yeah.
Like, all of that is kind of like, it goes together and makes you feel like you're in the game. Like, and especially like if you pull your weapon and each of your abilities make a different noise, and how those make contact, the different type of armor that your enemy is wearing. Like, if you hit somebody that is wearing plate, I want it to sound different than when you hit somebody that's wearing cloth, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and I think all of that is important, and I think that's something that we've seen in games, but we don't ever really think about too much.
We don't think about it. Like in EverQuest 1, when you hit a skeleton, you hear the bone smack, and then you hear the skeleton go, or whatever.
Laughing at your ass.
But you know what I mean? Like, that is things that people that are in games that people don't think about, but you do notice it when it's not in a game. And that's, I love Project Gorgon, and I know we're going to go back to play the game eventually, but
Probably after the stream, yeah.
but that's just something that's lacking. And you can forgive that when you see the bigger picture, when you see the mechanics and everything else just kind of makes up for it, if you will.
But it's kind of, I feel like it's important though, right?
It is important.
There's this big thing going around, and I maybe I should save this for after the visuals part, but it's on my mind now that you mentioned something. Like, the big thing is, like, a lot of people are like, oh, just let them make their fucking game. It doesn't matter about the visuals. It's the story. It's the mechanics, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, fucking get that right. But there is no excuse to have bad visuals. Like, there's no reason. Like, if you don't have the money, find a way to get the money. I don't know what it is. I don't own a studio or anything like that. But what I would like to say is, like, if your game is mechanically sound, go out and do something about your visuals. Even if you're buying like packages in the from Unity that are already pre-produced, get something that gives your game a little bit of visual appeal. Like Project Gorgon is wonderful. I fucking love that game. Like, I thought that was going to be my main jam, dude. I just I don't know. There was just something, I started to lose interest in it, and I think, and it's one of those games that a lot of veterans will tell you that play it. They start to lose interest in it because there's that grind factor that is there. It's fine, but it starts to lose its appeal after a while. And people always go back, but they'll take breaks. They'll take extended breaks when they, they'll leave and then come back, because it is such a good game. There's a reason why it has almost 5 stars on Steam. It's an amazing game, but the visual and audio experience is kind of lackluster. It's just not there. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say, it's one of those games when you first play it, you're going to be like, like, I can't play this. But if you give it a shot, if you get some levels, if you play it for a night, when you finish playing for that first night, I guarantee you're going to be like, okay, I want to jump back in.
Yeah.
And I think the reason people don't want to play it, because Project Gorgon will tell you this: their graphics aren't the best.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty bad. But I think that's what they want to deliver. They want to let people know it's about the mechanics and the experience. It's less about the graphics and the sounds and all that.
But I still will argue that I think that's important, because if you want to draw a player base and retain a player base, the visuals are a big thing. And they do care about the visuals, because they do have some people working on visuals. They just don't have a full-time staff, full-time artist that they're paying to do it. And
okay.
But they are updating it. There is I think his name is Andrew. I can't remember specifically, but I know that he is working with them, but he also has his own stuff that he's doing. And it's not that we're trying to shit on PG. And we've Pew Pew, thanks for joining the stream, by the way. Project Gorgon is one of those games that we did a series on it. We absolutely loved it. We hyped it up. We talk about it quite often, and most of our streams, to be honest. But it is one of those games that when we try to get people to play with us, we'd always have to sell them on the let it sink in a little bit, feel the mechanics, because every single person was like, God damn, this game is ugly.
Yeah.
So it's like it's one of those things where it might be charming in a way, but not many people are open to that, and that's why the player base it's not as huge as it could be. And I think that's okay. Yeah. And I think that's fine, because that's what they shoot for. It's not meant to be this massively MMORPG type thing, but at the end of the day, it's still an MMORPG. And when you're playing it, you want more people to play with. You want more people to do group content with. And it's hard to get people that are used to modern graphics, like Guild Wars 2, WoW even. And the thing is, I'm not against stylized graphics. But anyway, we're getting off tangent here. I'm just saying, like, I think those are important. I think sound effects are good. I think even when you're not doing a story, if you roll up into a boss in the open world, I think, like, if you're going into a cave system, right, Def?
Mm-hmm.
and you're walking into this cave system, and the music's just like, okay, that changes for the dungeon that you're in. Now you're in a dungeon, and the music changes. But as you get closer to the boss, all of a sudden the music gets even more brutal. You know what I mean? So it's all like, there's a boss around this corner. You know?
Yes. Yeah.
And then so you get there, and you're like wanting to pee your pants because you're like, oh, you know, we've been 45 minutes in this dungeon, but dude, I don't know if we can beat this dude. You know?
Well, you know, music and sound sets the tone. It sets your mood. It kind of gets you in the zone. You know, it's sound is, you know, it's a real powerful tool. And I know we're moving on, but I want to backtrack just for a second here, because I grew up playing EverQuest, and every person I tried to get into EverQuest were people I met from WoW, like Rena and you know, several people. Dude, they just couldn't get into it because of the graphics, and I'm like, if you just stick through it, you know, let me get you some levels and get the hang of it, and you'll love it. But I know. But going back to the sound, dude, sound is I mean, it's essential. It's needed. You know, you got to feel it. You want to feel your character. You know what I mean?
Right.
You want to feel that environment. I love ambient noises. I love music changes. In fact, when we've been playing Guild Wars, I don't normally, when I play MMOs, I put on music on Spotify.
Right.
I haven't been doing that for Guild Wars 2, especially when I play my story, because I see what they do with it now, you know.
Pew Pew, sorry to derail.
No, go ahead.
Feel free to drop your Twitch, man. Maybe we can. I'll check you out. We'll check you out next time you're streaming. We'll go over there and give you a little follow. But yeah, drop your Twitch so we can check you out. Appreciate it. Thanks for stopping in. But yeah, like, no, man, like, I don't know. So like, I wanted to love EverQuest, but here's the thing, man. Like, you know me, I'm ridiculously into Final Fantasy. Like, I've got so many Final Fantasy games in the other room for all the different consoles.
Right.
But you know, I pop in Final Fantasy VII, one of the greatest games of all time, and it even has pretty decent graphics. And well, that's subjective. But it's harder to get into, right? Like, there's a reason why everyone's so excited for the remake, because they want that audio visual experience, because it's just there's just something about those older games, man. Like, you throw in Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross, and like, there's a stylized graphic to it that makes it easier and more palatable. Excuse me. But you're still playing like this 16-bit game, right? Like, it's not anything impressive. Or you pop in Final Fantasy Tactics, again, stylized graphics, and it allows you to get through it. But when you're playing something that's supposed to have like a realistic factor, like Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy IX, those are all PlayStation 1 era games, and you pop them in, and you know you love the story because you've beaten them before. But then you try to get into it, and it just doesn't captivate you like it did. And it takes a moment. You've got to play it, and then you have to get that nostalgia flowing. You have to get that feel going. You know what I mean? That feel. You got to get it. And when you get the feel of the game going, then all that other stuff, you've immersed yourself in the environment. And I think it's just a matter of like, there's switches in your brain, right?
Yeah.
Like, and once you become desensitized to it, then you're like, okay, I'm just playing the game. I'm in the zone. Next thing you know, you're 40 hours in. And then your friends want you to play MMOs, and you play MMOs for 2 weeks, and you forgot where you were, so you have to start the story all over again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, I think that's just what it is. Like, I liked EverQuest, but every time we loaded back into it after not playing for a while, it's like, it's hard. You gotta readjust your brain. The shitty UI, the weird sound effects, the terrible textures on stuff, you know. And for me, like, I'd have to go in and do all the reshade stuff to at least give it a little oomph when we're playing, you know.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
But back on what you were saying with the sound and the feel, I look at sound. The reason I look at it so importantly is it's like a guide. It's your guide. It's to help you click, to help you focus in. Is, you know, audio cue, change of environment. You know, you're going through a dungeon, like you said. The music is ominous, and then it starts to pick up as you get through to
Yeah.
harder mobs, and then you get to that boss, and then it's like dun 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 or whatever it may be. You know what I mean? But
Oh, absolutely.
it really like, oh, okay, because as we all know, playing MMORPGs, it's a time investment, and if you're playing, for hours and hours on end on a Saturday night or whatever, when you have a lot of free time, that music will capture your attention.
Yep.
So to me, it's just very important, and that goes with the background and what you do with your abilities. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and one of the things I can think of is when we were playing EverQuest 2 that was kind of awesome was when we were doing the EverQuest 2 thing. I remember, it's ability bloat, right?
Yep.
And we'd be going through, and I'd have being a bard class, one of the 2 bard classes. I had 2 different bards, and then I had like the different specs, and so you're going through and you use an ability, and then like that audio visual cue is like, oh fuck, that's the wrong ability on my bar. I gotta switch it out, So just things like that, like you get so accustomed to those audio cues that when something is wrong, it's wrong. Like in Guild Wars 2, when we're running around and I'm not really focusing on my bar and I go to use an ability, there's a visual and an audio cue that happens, but if the mob interrupts me, like that gets cut off. And then all of a sudden you're paying attention to your UI again. You're like, well, what's my cooldown? What's going on with that? When can I recast it? That sort of thing. Yeah. So I think all that's important. So let's talk. Are we good to talk about the visuals?
Yeah.
With regard to these MMOs that we've played, what are some of your favorite combat mechanics that you've seen in the games? We got a little bit of buffering here. Hold on a second.
All right.
We're gonna let it buffer here for just a second, guys. I don't know what the internet's hating us. Maybe we should just stream 720 until this COVID stuff dies down.
Yeah.
But, or it could be my internet. Who knows? All right. Anyway, guys, sorry if there's some chopping up here. Not really sure what's going on, but if this continues, you guys can watch the VOD after the fact, and if it's continues during the stream, we'll stream 720 next week just to make sure everything's kosher. But anyway, what were some of your favorite experiences?
Man, I gotta say, Wake the Dead in EverQuest is one of my favorite abilities. But it was my first experience as a common necromancer abilities where you have an army. You had your AAs, so you could get really cool abilities like your undead archers. You could have Wake the Dead. You could summon more undead mobs, and then you had your pet. So you're looking out there and you're like commanding an army of undead.
Right.
But my second, I gotta say, my favorite, and this is gonna seem kind of bland here, but Charge on the Warrior in WoW. I know since then a lot of MMOs kind of incorporated that abilities, but dude, to me, when I first charged as a warrior in WoW, I'm like, this is awesome. I'm a tank and I can charge into the mob and AoE aggro everything. To me, that was like a moment where I'm like, holy shit, this is new, and this is like how it should be.
Yeah.
Not that I'm praising WoW, but they did a lot of things that really stick out in my mind as far as combat wise, like Blade Storm, the WoW Blade Storm, Warrior Blade Storm rather, Thunderclap, and I could go on and on about the Warrior, Heroic Leap, stuff like that. I was a warrior and I'm like mobile, and I'm in the middle of the battle. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my most memorable combat mechanics. Was the Necromancer from EverQuest. And one thing I want to point out, in EverQuest, you had your Shadow Knight was a hybrid like warrior / necro. and you had your necro, and they had the same style of snares. They had the darkness line, rangers, which is a hybrid, and druids. They had the same line of snares, so you could see them as they begin to snare. You see the audio, the visual cue, and you hear the audio sound, and you know they're snaring that mob.
Right.
So that in turn cues up the rest of the group for the tank to start getting aggro, for the DPS to start once the mob gets 96% health. Stuff like that really comes to my mind.
Yeah, I mean, those are all really good examples. Hey, give me just a moment here. I don't know. Guys, I just want to figure out if you guys are seeing the stream. I'm getting some notifications that stream quality has degraded. And I just want to know if you guys are getting a lot of buffering, what's going on here. We seem to be okay now because I stopped recording. So we're just broadcasting now. We'll pull the recording from YouTube later. But I want to make sure you guys are still hearing what's going on. If not, we'll restart the stream. And I do apologize if that's something we have to do.
Looks decent on my end on YouTube.
Okay, because the preview keeps buffering. So that's
okay.
what I was concerned about.
Gotcha.
So sorry to interrupt you there. You're on a roll, man.
Yeah. I was having a flashback, that meme of that cat with the army helmet on or whatever, and he's like, I seen some shit. But yeah. Quality's fine, but it is buffering, George and Hoyer says.
Okay. All right, I've killed the recording, so hopefully it's going to catch up. I'm showing a red connection between YouTube and the server here, so I don't know if that's going to correct itself or what. But we'll just keep going, guys. We'll just keep going, and unfortunately, OBS doesn't allow live changes in quality. So unfortunately, I cannot reduce the quality to reduce the bandwidth while we're already live. So we'll just keep moving on. Sorry for the technical difficulties, guys. But so you mentioned a lot of EverQuest, like nostalgia type stuff. What about in like those modern games? Like, so one of the things I really wanted to talk about was BDO, Terra, Guild Wars 2. Different styles of combat, because we're going to see those. Like Ashes of Creation is supposed to have like an active combat system. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on like let's talk like Korean MMOs, like and their animation styles. Like, what do those do for you, if anything?
Sometimes they're over the top. Like, I mean, and I say that like I enjoy it. I'd be lying if I say I didn't. But I think those are for games like Diablo, that game we were talking about in the Nerd News. What was it called? The Ascend?
The Ascent, yeah.
The Ascent. Things like that where you kill armies and waves at a time. That's where I kind of think that's where that belongs.
Gotcha.
But like in BDO, I mean, it didn't matter what I hit. It didn't matter what my rotation was. I mean, I was just going to be doing backflips and side flips and axe swings, and, it was just chaos.
It was good. Okay. Nah, it's still showing a bad connection. This is an internet issue.
There we go. There we go.
All right, we're back here, guys. Just give us a second to buffer out. Frustrating. Again, though, when you guys go to check out the VOD, it should piece this together for you. I do apologize for that. The internet is having a difficult time. So we are coming out at 720p. Enjoy that low quality stream with that high quality camage that we got going on now. But anyway, so you're saying that BDO Terra is a big one. You're saying sometimes that combat's a little over the top, right?
It's a little over the top. It's a little it's just too much. I mean, it feels cool, and like I said, it's mindless fun, but and I love mindless fun, but if I want to play mindless fun, I'll play Diablo 3 or, a game where I'm just, killing waves of mobs. And I do love those type of games. I just don't want it in my MMORPGs
Right,
that
I
I
feel
take
you.
seriously. I'm all about the tactics, the strategy, interrupts, CCs, snares, all that sort of thing, And I think with these games that have all that really cool combat, where you're interacting like, heathens, where you're just casting everything and dropping atom bombs on everybody. I just think that eliminates strategy and teamwork to a certain extent.
Well, and the thing is, though, is like BDO is a weird game in and of itself, where it almost discourages play with other players. Like it's you have
Yeah.
some interaction, but I wouldn't consider it like a massively multiplayer online game. Like there's a lot of people that play it. There
Yeah.
is some social interaction. You do have guilds, but to be honest, I told you yesterday I've been kind of having the BDO itch, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's one of those games where it's like you said, they have like this interesting combat system, but I don't think there is some sort of like tactic to it, but I don't really feel like for the majority of play it matters. Like you can literally just sit there like an old school Ret Paladin and bang on your keyboard,
Yeah.
and just get the job done.
Yeah.
And I think that's like you said, it's mindless fun. You load it up. It's kind of like, you make money fishing by, I don't know, not playing the game.
Yeah.
Like it's that sort of thing. Like it's beautiful, it's interesting. You want to play it from like a Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat perspective, right? Like all the flips and kicks and punches and spells and
Yeah,
all
it's
the pretty
almost like
visuals.
you're sitting in an arcade with a big joystick and you're like da 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 da. You know what I mean?
And it sounds good. It does.
Yeah.
I think it sounds pretty good because like the sounds make sense with the abilities that are being used, but it's all like I don't feel immersed because like in what world like there has to be some sort of basis in reality there, and in what world is somebody going to be like doing backflips with magic and stars, demons flying out, and then they land and they teleport, and when they port away, they shoot black stars from their hands? Like that's cool, but that's just a little bit too much sensory overload.
Yeah, it's over the top, and I think some games, I think it's fine. I think BDO is like you said, it's not really. You don't log on to get a group and go do group content in BDO. I mean, you can, you can group up and do quests together and stuff like that, but it's not. Of course, I haven't played in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it's been a while since we played, and I know they have added a lot of polish to it.
Yeah, and they may have added some more group play to it, and I could be just talking shit, but I just think when you're killing waves and waves of mobs in BDO, it's meant to be for your own entertainment. So they add a really cool combat system where it's real arcadey feeling, jumping up in the air, smashing on the ground,
And if you think BDO is bad, guys, like if you ever played Terra's even more over the top.
Oh, Terra!
Like they've got the gunner class where like the gun is as big as the character.
Yeah.
And it's not just I use a gun and I shoot things and there's like different projectiles that come out of it. No, you're running in and flipping out of combat and flipping around, turning it into a grenade launcher, and then like the bullets that you shoot are like this. Like it's insane.
Now, I want to say something real quick. My Firebrand Guardian in Guild Wars 2, when I cast my Elite Specialization ability, which is kind of like my extra ability bar, all those animations are over the top, but they flare out as AoE type abilities, which I can make look over the top as shit because I could just spam them all and it looks freaking crazy. But there is a time to use those abilities. You have to time it right. And so like I do the Firebrand kind of like an enhanced shaman from WoW type build, where I keep haste up and I dot everything to death with fire damage. And it's a lot of fun. I spread my AoE. I increase the burning damage. I can suck everybody into one little section, and then I can just AoE the fuck out of them.
Yeah.
Now, that to me is fun as shit. I really enjoy that. And it's kind of in the Terra BDO genre, I guess, but it's not over the top. I mean, it looks cool. It looks like a lot's going on, I guess what I'm trying to say. It really isn't. It's just really cool effects going on when I cast the abilities.
Yeah, and it's kind of somewhere like in the middle, right? Like, if you don't have the elite specializations, it's not as crazy over the top, but they seem to add that to the elite specializations to say, hey, you're playing an elite specialization. And, and you kind of feel more like into it. Like, it seems that way with every class I've played, and I've gotten like 8 characters to level 80 since we started playing again. And every time we get an elite specialization, it's like the same results. Like, when you turn that elite specialization on, all of a sudden your abilities are more flashy. There's a lot more going on. There's more buttons to push. But at the same time, it's like it's reasonable. Like, when you're with 50 people, it's completely unreasonable because you can see everybody's little AoE ground effects, and it sucks. Yeah. But I feel like you need to have them on to make sure you're standing in the heels and things like that too.
Yeah, it's too much, but at the same time, I wouldn't want them off.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to see, and plus, the more you play the game, I'm a believer in MMOs. Since we're talking about combat, audio, visual cues, and immersion and stuff, I'm a big fan. Like, I never really play a healer.
Mm-hmm.
I do plan on my alt and Pantheon will be a shaman. And I played a shaman in EverQuest, but I didn't really like heal much in group environments. But I'm a believer in playing different roles in the Trinity sense,
Yeah.
Because I believe if you play that class and you know the cues, if you see the spell effects, if you hear the sounds, you know what they're doing, so you know how to do your part to make their job easier. And I think that's a real important point to bring up because, for example, I know when an enchanter is mezzing. I know when a enchanter is slowing. I know when an enchanter is mezzing as well. I'm sorry, a shaman is slowing as well in EverQuest, Like, I know the visual and audio cues of that. So I know not to attack until he gets that thing slowed. Or
right.
I know to start attacking as he slows it,
Yeah, so like I think that's always been important. I've always kind of subscribed to that idea. Like, back when I was a raid leader in WoW, I had played pretty much every class to max level and done some sort of end game content with it. Maybe not raids, but I had done like the heroic dungeons and stuff like that to understand the complexity of it.
Right.
And I think that's important to understand, like, if you're playing one role, understand where other people are coming from, not just from a mechanic standpoint, but from a sympathetic standpoint. Like, what they're going through, what they're doing. And you're not going to bitch at a healer who's not giving you heals if you know what they're up against,
Right. So, and that's what you were good at. When you would see a healer struggling, you would be able to give them advice and try this, try that, sort of thing. And I think that's important, man, because I never understood in WoW what a healer had to go through until I played one. And I only played one till like mid-70s, Didn't even play it all the way. But I got in there, I tried it out, and then I understood, like, oh my God, I know how to change my behavior on my tank now,
Yeah, because like, you feel what they're feeling, their pain, and you want to try to fix that. So I want to talk a little bit about Pantheon then. So that the topic of Pantheon came up for a second, and I haven't really been keeping up with it lately. I'm not gonna lie. I've been pretty disinterested. It's not that it's kind of like the same Saga of Leucemia situation. I want to get all my information after it's been out for a minute. Yeah, and then I want to partake in the game when like a big patch comes out. And I don't even want to partake in it too much until the games are actually live because I want to play the games and enjoy them. But anyway, the videos that I have seen in the past for Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, I didn't really feel like the combat system was flashy enough, if you will. Like, I feel like it was there, but I'm just wondering, like, I know that they had been working on VFX. Do you know if they had been working on the actual combat itself, like the melee combat and such?
I believe they are, and someone in chat can back me up, I think. But they have been working on combat animations. I think they recently hired someone.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm getting confused with Saga and Pantheon, but I think they hired someone. But I will say, when Cole played the what's the Shadow Knight guy's name? I want to say Shadow Knight, but it's not Shadow Knight. And I do this with Guild Wars 2. My Guardian is not a
Is it
paladin.
Death Knight? Is it a Dark Knight? Is it a Shadow Knight? Help us out, guys. We're brain farting here real hard, and this is embarrassing.
Is it Dreadlord? No, not
Yeah.
Dreadlord.
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
No,
Okay.
no, Dread. No, it's not Dreadlord.
Dire
Lord.
Dire Lord. There we go. Dire Lord.
So we're now officially embarrassed, and we can never do Pantheon content again because that was lame.
I'm telling you right now, guys. If we weren't live, I just said Dire Lord. But Dire Lord. When I saw Cole play the Dire Lord, the last time that he did, I saw a drastic improvement in the combat, the spell abilities and how they worked and how they synergized.
Okay.
So I have confidence that when Pantheon comes out, because I think Pantheon gets a lot of hate. They're not giving us enough for the blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. But I think the reasoning behind that is because they're focusing on these little things. Like their last newsletter was all about the UI, and I'm getting off topic here, but they're working on it, man. And I just have confidence that the combat animation. I mean, they still have the EverQuest sound effects for spells.
True. I forgot about that. So they've got to be making changes.
They got to be. Now, I will say, as an EverQuest fanboy, as a tribute to Eridoon, Brad McQuaid, I would be cool with them having those same sound effects. I love them. They work great. I've been accustomed to them. I don't think that they will. But I wouldn't be opposed to if they were to keep them.
Well, what about if they were to pay homage to those sound effects and update them with more modernized sound, but kind of kept that same effect, like the thing, like when you cast certain spells?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say if they update the combat animations, I think they will have to change them because it won't connect. It won't make that audio visual click. Okay. So,
well, to kind of put this train back on track, so BDO, fun, but combat's kind of over the top. But you can hear the attacks connect. The visuals are pretty, but it's too much of a visual overload, I think, and maybe even an audio overload because it feels, like I said again, it feels too much like an arcade game. And then you got Terra, where you can combine the abilities together. You don't even know what you're casting because you can just keep hitting one button on the keyboard. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But and then the Guild Wars 2, as Turin was saying, is kind of like, it's somewhere in between. Especially with those elite specializations, it kind of pushes over the top a little bit, but it's still manageable. And I know, like, one of the big things I've been playing is an Alacrigade, and just got that all geared up. And it's basically doing nothing but putting down like buffs and reducing cast times, doing AoE bombs, stuff like that. And the visuals are pretty crazy, and it's a lot to keep up with. But at the same time, like in your Firebrand, man, like when you got Firebrand, I went and got Dragon Hunter that night, and you got Firebrand, and we were like testing our DPS the next day. You were getting used to your rotation, and I was getting there trying out Dragon Hunter. And you're just like, wee, and I'm just like throwing down little traps. They go,
It is fun, man. And it's funny that you say that because I was looking forward to Dragon Hunter and not Firebrand.
Right.
And I had never seen all the Firebrand stuff. And I was like, holy shit, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
It's pretty cool. I love playing a utility. It's not really my normal thing, you know. I've grown fond of playing tanky classes and stuff, but it's awesome. It's I think it fits. I really do. But like you said, when we're playing world versus world, or you know, if we ever start raiding and stuff like that, it's gonna be kind of crazy.
Well, the thing is, dude, here's the crazy thing. When you raids are only like 10-man squads.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they're not huge. So I think it'd be more manageable. I'll tell you what, though, running around in a hero point train where people think they got to be big dick DPS on a hero point train blows my mind. Because you don't need to do that. You just need to use your auto attacks basically, because you're running like 50 people deep. You surely can kill a boss mob or maybe throw out some buffs and stuff like that. But dude, to go out there and have people use their full rotations, it's insane. Because like you drop just from moving around, you drop from like playing at 1440p, you drop on a 2070 playing at fairly high settings from 70 to 80 frames per second down into your 20s when combat starts.
Yeah,
like it's insane. And I was with a train the other night, and they were like, "LOL, 4 FPS." Like that reminds me of like the old WoW days.
Yeah,
like where you'd be like hanging out in town and your frame rate would drop to like 20, or you'd be out in the world and frame rate's just fine, but then you get into a raid and you're playing at like 5 FPS just like chunking along, like you're playing but you're not playing well.
Yeah, and I guess that's another point we could talk about real quick, because I know we're running pretty long, but I remember in EverQuest, I had to turn almost everything off except for my spell effects. And that really started to fuck with me, It really sucked. I mean, I would only have to do it for raids and big group events and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, I guess fortunately we're in a modern day, we're in the future from EverQuest, so
Right.
so maybe it's not a big deal, but I guess the game needs to be optimized for a lot of cool shit going on if you're going to have a lot of cool shit that your characters do.
Which is definitely one thing that Guild Wars 2 is not. It is not optimized, because there is no reason why a 2700X and a 2070 shouldn't be able to run Guild Wars, a 14-year-old game at this point. It should be able. Yeah,
it's 14 years old.
2006, I think, is when it originally came out.
Holy shitballs! I didn't know that.
2006 or 2008, one of the two. I can't remember. We talked about this. I looked it up. It wasn't over here initially, but anyway, let's talk about the big one, which is active combat versus tab targeting. So, I mean, this is part of the visual experience, because it's more of a UI thing, and it is more of a mechanical thing. And I think we could do a whole stream on this, but I kind of want to touch on this topic a little bit. Like when you're out there and you're immersing yourself in the world, how does the targeting system? Because we've played different games. We've played ESO, which is no tab targeting at all. We've got the hybridized system of Guild Wars 2. You got BDO, which is similar to ESO. Same with Terra. But then you've got your traditional tab targeting with PG. You got your tab targeting with Saga. Like, what are your thoughts when you're out there wandering around the world? Like, how do they impact your vibe?
So my thoughts are, I've been conditioned, I've been indoctrinated with growing up with tab targeting.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I've ever known in MMOs. So when a game doesn't have it, I get a little pissy. I like it. And I think it feels natural. And I don't know if this is from growing up doing it, but I, move my little pinky and a tab. When a game does not have that, it infuriates me. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm a fan of tab targeting, and I know I may get hate for this, but bro, I just it's convenient for me. You know,
Yeah.
a mob dies, I hit tab. You
By the
know?
way, I fucked up with the Guild Wars dates. I believe Guild Wars 1 was 2006. So I want to correct myself there.
That sounds
bad.
right. Because
But-
I remember people leaving EverQuest 1 for Guild Wars. So
Sorry about that, guys. Brain wires got crossed. I've been looking into Guild Wars 1 lately because I've been wanting to do the story for the lore, so. See, I'm kind of, I don't know, man, like, I was all about tab targeting, and then we played ESO.
right.
And there's just something about ESO that, like, the first thing was the UI. It was so minimalistic. It didn't really get in the way, you know? And they even had the ability to turn it off when you weren't using it.
Right.
And then you get into combat, and you're like, oh, okay. Everything is directional. And it kind of sucks because you can't be like, tab, target that thing, put a dot, tab, dot, tab, dot. You got to be like, cast a spell, cast a spell. But I think they have done things in games that have, they've, you know, like conical effects, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that way you know, it's not a thing that's going to hit one mob and not the other. So if you're trying to do that, instead of having a tab target, it would just hit both of them. Or like
Right.
I've got an ability on my Scourge that I can cast a spell, it'll hit the enemy and then bounce off the two more enemies. And most abilities in Guild Wars 2 will hit more than one target.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've noticed that. So
Sometimes I get frustrated because I kill a group of mobs and then my auto attack goes off and hits another pack of mobs. So I don't know. I get it.
I've had issues with that, man.
Well, I just get, you know, like I love, you know, like I've always played tanks or
Absolutely, turn.
tunes or that dot, you know.
Yeah.
So to me, tabbing was just an easy way to cycle through everything. And like Hoyer says, tab targeting is easy. It's easy mode. And I don't know. I've been conditioned. I've been used to it. So I'm a big fan of it. At the same time, the directional combat mechanics feel more immersive. You know,
Yeah.
you feel like, you know, you're swinging your axes, so I'm going to face this way and then hit this mob, hit these mobs, you know. I like it. I'm not opposed to it, but I just feel like, what if I run into battle, I hit all these mobs directionally, and then I want to target that mob over there? Well, what do I got to do? Do I got to just run to it and start attacking it? Can I click it? Or could I just hit tab and boom, I have it in my sights. I can pull it, you know?
Yeah.
I guess that's my perspective and where I'm coming from.
And Turn, let me tell you, Turn says Guild Wars 2 has, first he says, Guild Wars 2 has a pretty great hybrid system because of the skill queuing being in existence. But Guild Wars 2 has so many targeted skills that it feels as active as ESO. I hate that targeting system because there's no compromise. There's no individual character settings. It's an account-wide thing. So when I'm playing Scourge and I've got to put my sand shades down, I don't want it to lock onto a target. But when I'm playing in a mode where I want to log on to a target because I'm just kiting or whatever, I want that. You know what I'm talking about, right? Where they put the little circles down?
Yeah, I do.
So I want that in some cases. Like when I'm playing my Alacrigate, I want the buffs to fall on my ass. You know, you come to me if you want a buff. Because that's what I'm meant for, you know, buffing the melee. Most people play in melee anyway. Like, that's what I want. But what I hate is when I switch over to World v. World and I have somebody targeted because I'm kicking their ass, they're over here, but then I see a choke point that needs some shades over in it to keep people from pouring in. I have to hit escape several times to quit targeting and then move it over. But I don't want the system where I just get to put it anywhere, because then if I'm not, you know, I'm locked onto this target, I'm killing this target, I want my shades to land on that guy's face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's no like in between, and then when I switch characters, then I got to go through into my settings and individually change it. And I just feel like there should be another option where it's individual character saves or templates that you can use, something like that. But I will say that I do enjoy a hybrid system more than anything. Like I don't know, like ESO, like you said, it's like because we would have that problem where there'd be groups of enemies and you need to target the one in the back because you need to taunt it. Yeah. And you can't because there's a mob in front of you. Or in Guild Wars 2, when you get downed and the mob you're trying to kill is this guy that's right here, but then because you get down, the other mob runs slightly in front of it, and the guy that killed you or whatever that you can kill to get back up is at like 10% health, and you're chucking shit at him, and it's hitting the other dude instead of the one you need to kill.
Yeah, and you know, in ESO, you know, you could target that mob in the back, but at the same time, you're in the middle of combat trying to keep everything going on the mobs in front of you.
Yeah,
and you have to scroll your freaking cursor into the back, click the mob, and then hopefully taunt or whatever it may be is off cooldown, whatever you have to tag the mob. You know, and it's just like that little bit of time can be brutal, you know, especially in in-game.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, really what they should do is they should build a game around a hybrid system, but make it totally playable in a hybrid mode, a tab target mode, and an active combat system.
Yeah.
And let people choose their playstyle. Like, and a modern MMO should be able to figure out how to do that. I know there's a huge balancing act there, and it's going to affect your game mechanically all around. But you should let the players figure out how they want to play. It's just like you got people like Fel, I'm calling you out. She plays, she clicks when she plays. Yeah. And she'll admit that she's a clicker. And she plays pretty fine as a clicker.
Oh, and I know several clickers that are pretty good.
Yeah. And I had to get on to my wife the other day. I was like, stop clicking. Because in Guild Wars 2, if you click the ability on your bar and it's a target ability, it'll drop it like 2 feet from you.
Yeah.
So you have to use your hotkey.
Right.
Or switch over that targeting system so that way you can click it and then move your cursor where it needs to go, which then introduces more time.
Right.
So, you know, like they should let people choose how they want to play. I think that's the best way to do it. And as far as in terms of immersion, I think the immersion's already ruined by the fact that there's a nameplate over the mob. Like at the end of the day, that you want to see the health, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to see their health, you want to see their nameplate, you want to know what you're attacking, you want to know what their buffs, their debuffs are, your immersion's already gone.
Yeah, that's why I choose the option not to show my modes and all that sort of thing in Guild Wars, because I don't want to see it. I mean, but at the same time, I hit my Alt key to see it when I want to see it. You know what I mean?
True.
So it's kind of like it's one of those things, man. Just it's kind of what your preferences are. But yeah, I mean, I think we had people that were in Unlimited, you know, that were clickers, that were great. It's just, I guess it's just coming up with that balance and giving the players their choice, you know, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Having like 3 options or something, that would be pretty cool. Because I'm just so used to tab targeting. When I don't have it, I get a little frustrated.
Yeah, and that's completely understandable. And again, like I said, you're losing the immersion anyway, so why not have a hybrid system and let people choose how they want to do it?
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and wrap up this discussion for tonight then. So we've talked a little bit, we've talked about active combat versus tab targeting, we've talked about audio, we've talked about the visual appearance of abilities, how the ambiance affects things. I want to talk a little bit about one thing that we didn't really touch on, but while we're talking about this next topic, just real quick to wrap it up, you good, bro?
I'm good.
Okay, just checking in. Tell us what your guys' thoughts are. Like, I know you've already chimed in, but like to summarize it, like, do you think the audio-visual experience matters in terms of your immersion? Do you care about your immersion? Do you think, regardless, the immersion is already ruined? I know Pew Pew had said that the stylized graphics of Guild Wars were kind of charming, not really stylized, but you know, the default, like, you know, budget graphics that you get with Project Gorgon were fine because the mechanics were there. So like, is the audio visual experience when you're playing a game, does that affect your desire to play that game? Does it affect how you see that game mechanically? Do mechanics override the audio visual or is it complemented? Like, let us know what you think. As far as us, like, the last thing I want to talk about while you guys get your comments in chat here is I want to talk about death. Like, one thing that like Lion and I have been just cracking up with is she plays an elementalist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when she kills enemies with the effects of her elementalist, like if they're burning or they get electrocuted when they die, they like catch on fire and scream and roll around on the ground, or they get electrocuted and they go up in the air and then they just fall over dead. Like, what are your thoughts on like death with in terms of audio-visual experience? Like, does that matter to you, Death? Or
it makes it feel like it gives you your identity. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It gives, like, I burned this guy to death, and now he's crying about it. So I think that's fitting. And one thing I kind of want to say to kind of give an example on my opinion, you asked chat how they felt.
Yeah.
My opinion is it's important. It's very important to me. It's one of the things that's going to keep me going. But it's kind of like, I know we got a lot of people in the community that are into music and stuff, and we've both been in bands and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's like when you listen to a demo from an indie band. It's like you hear the low quality recording, but you can already visualize what it sounds like if it was highly produced or if it was live.
Yeah, you appreciate the substance.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, with the Project Gorgon, we can throw a little bit of EverQuest in there. It's just kind of like my way of looking at it, I can see the substance there, I can see the intent. I can get behind it. I would love the awesome audio and visual cues. I know it's not the most important thing, but it's important to me to keep me personally engaged. So that's kind of where I stand on it.
My take, and so just to kind of recap what some people are saying. So Hoye says, depends how good it is. Old stuff or things I've played forever, just turn the volume off and just watch YouTube. And amen. And
We're guilty.
The general consensus is it depends on what you're playing. And I will tell you that Project Gorgon really opened my mind a lot to this, because the visual experience, I mean, again, we've talked about how the character creation, and I don't mean to shit so much on Project Gorgon, because again, it's a wonderful game. If you haven't watched our series on it, definitely check out the series on it, because we go into detail on it, and you can see how much we loved it with the video content.
Yeah.
But it just visually, it's not appealing. Like, it's quirky and corny, and I can appreciate that to some regard, but like the models look like my daughter when she was 5, something she drew on a piece of paper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I took forever. There was the UI elements that I hated, and I was like, I'm not gonna play this game. And people kept bringing it up in our comments on our videos, and I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna do it. It's terrible. And then I did it. And we decided, this is something that people have been asking us for. Let's do a small series on it. And we did a series on it, and I had a lot of fun. But it did take a moment to get past the visuals. And whenever we talked about it on stream, when we were doing some of the Bat Lives, when we first started Project Gorgon, we had to be like, look, if you want to try the game out, it's super affordable, but go into it with an open mind, because it's ugly.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, it took me probably 2 weeks of playing it, because we were doing it for the channel.
Right.
But it wasn't, I guess 2 weeks. It wasn't until I went over down to your house and we played it that weekend. Then it clicked. I had someone to play it with. We met some cool people. We got in a cool guild. We did cool events that were going on, and then I was just sucked in. It's one of those things where, like I said, you got to get past the lack of the audio visual, aspect of it.
And I'm also wondering, like, we'd been playing in a lot of emulators leading up to that. Like, when we looked at Project Gorgon coming from, like, we had done, the reason why this popped up is because we talked a lot about concepts when we did our Pantheon videos. And we look at a lot of these modern games. We came from WoW, we played ESO, we played Guild Wars 2, we played Final Fantasy 14, and those all had good graphics. And we were just like, you know, fuck these other games. Like, but then we did a video called, you know, why we quit playing modern MMOs, which is kind of ironic since we're playing Guild Wars 2 now, but that's beside the point. We started playing these emulators. You know, we played P99, we played what was the other one? Project P99 was the other one that we did.
Nozomi?
Well, we did Nozomi, but what was the other? We did another one. Another
the Warhammer one?
No, the one.
EQ Reborn.
Yes, we did EQ Reborn, Project 99, Nozomi, and then I think we just kind of became used to like bad graphics in a way that kind of opened up our mind a little bit more to PG. And then I remember we loaded up PG. This is worse than EverQuest. But then, like you said, after a couple of weeks, we were down with it. Yeah. And I think now I could do that. I actually thought about going back and playing some old PlayStation 1 RPGs out of my collection because, you know, I felt like it was tolerable. And without that experience, I think if I were just a Guild Wars 2 player, ESO player, WoW player, Final Fantasy 14 player, I don't think I would look at those games like that that didn't have a good visual experience or a good auditory experience and actually be like, and actually have a desire to play them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'd probably just be like, yeah, whatever. I'm not going to play that game because it's ugly and I have time invested in this game. Why should I bother? And I have not played Tibia. Have you ever played Tibia?
No, I have not.
Tipo is one of our friends and one of our guildies in Battle Axe Theater, and he is playing a Tibia emulator of sorts. Oh, okay. Did tell us about that. So I bring this up because Kyle in chat is asking if we've ever played Tibia. We have not. I don't intend to, but mainly because I just don't have enough time. I've got a time sink within Guild Wars 2 right now. I'm really enjoying myself, and it allows me to spend some time with my family because I got kids that actually are enjoying it. So we play together for several hours, a couple days a week, and we're enjoying that. So I just don't see my time, unless we're doing something for Battle Axe, I just don't see me investing time into another MMO until either hype goes away or something comes out or a big patch drops for something else that we're playing.
Something to look into, though, for sure.
Yeah. I'll look into it because I've been hearing more and more about it. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of wrap things up here. We do have a message from somebody. I don't know if you saw that.
It's our regular Drax attacks.
Before we get into that, though, let's go ahead and transition.
All right.
Transition.
Oh man, this is such a juicy rant topic.
I'm sorry.
Hello?
But the person you called
Hello?
has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet. Goodbye.
Oh, what the hell, guys?
Voicemail, texts, and assholes.
All right, this is our voicemails, texts, and assholes segment where we take your voicemails, we take your texts, we take your messages that you've sent us through social media, and we read them on stream. And we have a regular that shoots us a message pretty much every week. So huge shout out to Drac Attack. If you guys aren't following him on Twitter, he's out there. It's Drac Attack on Twitter. Definitely check him out. What does Drac have to say today, Dev?
He says, and I haven't read it yet, so let me just see. Hope it's appropriate. That was a joke. I really hate overdone visual combat animations. Keep it simple and let me be able to easily tell what spells are being cast. Animation should relay information of what's happening. As far as immersion, again, just keep it simple. Big clusters of rainbow explosions ruin my immersion. Winky face.
Rainbow explosions.
It kind of goes to what we were talking about with BDO and Terra, you know, like that's just a little too much.
Yeah, like as long as you know what you're casting, you have that visual, you have that audio cue of what's taking place. Like, there's no reason to spew the vomit all over the screen. Because, like I said, like even playing Guild Wars 2, sometimes the visual can be a little overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. I was going to say Guild Wars 2 has a nice balance, but at the same time, sometimes it is a little over the top. And the main thing I want to say is, I just want to, my abilities that I cast, I want to feel it. I want it to be impactful. I want to hear the crunch in my ears, and I want to see the visual of my ability landing. And that's all I want. It didn't have to be a sparkly rainbow shooting out of my battle axe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Or just a rain of fire. Rain of fire is kind of like a essential. But you know what I mean? Like,
there doesn't have to be so many projectiles and then explosions on the ground and a ring that indicates it and then a symbol that's in the middle of it. But just make it rain fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. Oh, I don't know what's happening here.
We're purple now.
We're purple. We're going to be purple. And apparently my video has been off this entire time. Fantastic. This is an ugly scene, guys. I'm just going to leave it. Fuck it. We're purple. I'm gonna fix this while we talk, but so one of the things, so we're wrapping up here, guys. One of the things that we'd like to have is we would like to hear from you guys. We would love to hear. Why is the chroma key not doing anything? This is dumb. Anyway, we would love to hear from you guys, and the best way you can reach us is tell them.
You can reach us at Twitter, twitter.com/BattleAxeTheater. No slashes, no dashes, anything like that. You can join our Discord, which is in every video description that we put out. You can text or call the number 725-333-2285. And it doesn't have to be about the topic we're talking about. You can tell us about how Larry at work just ruined your day by telling you about his daughter, all day, or something. It could be anything. We just want to hear your voices, match them to the names, from everybody that has been supporting us for all this time. So I mean, just check us out on Discord, check us out on Twitter. We're also on Facebook. I believe that's facebook.com/BattleAxeTheater. No dashes or slashes as well.
I think that pretty much sums things up. And I kind of wanted you to cover this because I know it's been really important to you lately that people call us. We're here 24/7. Give us a call, leave a voicemail. You don't have to have a conversation on the phone. We're weird dudes. We don't want to talk to you anyway. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we'd love to hear your voice. We'd love to have some audio to play on stream. And whether it's silly, Lexer, sending us a silly message and me fucking it all up with the audio playback, we'd like to not fuck it up. So if you could send it to us and we can fix that issue and play it and hear your voices and have, a secondary conversation. We'd love to get your tweets. Again, Drac is, and a lot of you guys are out there retweeting us and tweeting things out and commenting on our stuff. We'd love to hear from you guys on social media. And really, again, if you are interested in having a conversation, jump in that Discord, start one up. We've got a lot of people that have been joining lately. We've been getting a lot of new subscribers. So again, shout out to all of you guys for helping with that. This has been awesome. We are really, really close. We're almost 970 right now, so we're really close to that 1,000 mark. So we'd really appreciate it if you guys keep doing what you do and share it. And I have removed some things that were hiding Battle Axe live to the general public. I hope it doesn't bite us in the ass, but I didn't feel like eyes were getting to our videos. And I think this is this is us. What you get with Battle Axe Theater is real, it's raw, it's conversations we have on Saturday nights. Usually we're a little bit more tired and drunk, but
For sure.
But this is what we're all about, and we appreciate you guys being here and supporting us, and keep sharing that content so we can get more eyes on this and get that additional encouragement to keep doing what we do. And we're looking forward to next season having an even bigger and more badass show. So just keep doing what you do, and thanks again.
Yep.
So anything you want to add before we close it out for the night, bro?
You nailed it on the head, man. I just want to thank everybody for the continued support. Everybody sticking around. Be sure to keep an eye on the Twitter or our Discord for a little nugget that's going to go out on Friday. Other than that, I just want to say thank you for hanging out with us on your Monday night. That's pretty awesome.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming. We'll see you next Monday.
Later.